This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Jed's Barbershop. With 3 locations now, you have no reason to not always look your best. Go get a haircut, a beard trim, or even a straight razor shave. Jed's Barbershop is open 7 days a week, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., Saturday 9 to 7, and Sunday 12 to 5. They have a location downtown at 212 South, 700 East, and in Sugar House at 2153 East, 2100 South. They just opened up a 3rd location at 167 East, 900 South, right next to Randy's Records. No appointment is necessary. Head on over to jedsbarbershop.com for more information.
Showcasing local talent, professionals, and everyday people, making Salt Lake City what it is today. It's time for another episode of the I Am Salt Lake podcast.
All right, welcome to episode 269 of I Am Salt Lake podcast. My name's Chris Hollifield.
And I'm Chrissy Shelley.
On today's episode of the podcast, we sit down and chat with Chef Brandon Price from Even Stevens. Brandon shares his food culinary story of what made him start working with food, the industry, restaurants he's worked at, how he got teamed up with Even Stevens, and what he even currently does for Even Stevens.
So if you haven't eaten yet, pause, go get some delicious food, and then come back because you don't want to listen to this hungry.
We're going to talk about sandwiches, my favorite subject.
You know, I underestimated how much you love sandwiches.
There is something magical about a sandwich.
I think this is like the most giddy about a topic I've ever seen you in a recording.
Well, you even said that after we were done chatting with him. You were like, I have never seen somebody so excited to talk about food.
It was, well, because you're gluten-free now.
Well, more or less.
But, you know, I haven't known you before you were gluten-free. So I was like, oh, he just doesn't do bready things.
Oh, man, you should have seen me.
Was I surprised?
I would do tours of sandwich shops in Salt Lake City.
Really?
Of all the amazing sandwich places. Honestly, Even Stevens, and I'm not just saying that because they have gluten-free bread that I eat now. Mm-hmm. They are some of the best sandwiches in Salt Lake City.
They're totally, yeah, absolutely. I think everyone can agree on that, pretty much. So, yeah, sandwiches.
As always, if this is your first time listening to the podcast, head on over to our website, iamsaltlake.com. This is where you can find all the back episodes of the podcast. You can listen to them right there online. There's links where you can subscribe. Everything is at iamsaltlake.com.
And you can even track down the category you're interested in.
Yeah, so maybe you're only interested in one subject. Maybe you don't care about anything else here in Salt Lake.
Yeah.
But one thing. We break it down.
Just branch out a little bit.
We break it down really easy. Hey, this past week, it was a little busy for us.
Oh, man, yeah.
So this past week on Thursday evening and Saturday evening, I was part of a live podcast recording for a garden podcast called The Sod Show, all the way from Ireland.
Yeah.
Peter is the host of The Sod Show. He flew here from Ireland. He did a bunch of stuff.
He's teaching classes.
Yeah, teaching classes at Time and Place here in Salt Lake City. And he did some live podcast recordings that he asked me to be part of.
You were his wingman.
I was his wingman. It was a really cool experience, and I love nothing more than live podcast recordings. So being part of that,
it was really fun.
It was a fun experience. And I'm not, I'm not the green thumb type. I'm not a gardener by trade.
And I'm very good at killing plants on accident.
So it was a good mixture. It was different for me.
Yeah.
But once those episodes are released, I'd love to share them with the rest of you guys. Through our social media outlets. So
he had the punk rock farmer on one of them.
I want to get him on this podcast.
That guy was interesting.
Aldine from KRCL.
He has more energy than I've seen in a long time. It was amazing.
So that was fun. It was fun also to meet a listener of I Am Salt Lake from Ireland. Go figure, right? Yeah. That we have listeners in Ireland.
And he's like amazing, and he actually really listens. Like he asked questions about things like why I say goodnight, Grammy, at the very end. If any of you have ever made it to the very end,
yeah, goodnight, Grammy. Well, it's
because my Grammy listens.
Yeah, your Grammy
while
listens.
She's going to sleep.
So, well, hopefully she still listens.
I hope so, or she got really sick of us.
Hey, this episode is also sponsored by Oleo Skin and Beard. If you're like us, your skin is dry. If you're like me, your beard is dry. You need to moisturize your body. You need to moisturize your facial hair. Oleo Skin and Beard carries an amazing line of skin oils, beard butters for moisturizing and shaping the beard. even some great facial cleansers.
Oh, yeah. And their new mix for their kelp and clay mask is incredible.
So get on that. You can head on over to their website, oleoskin.com, and keep up to date on them. I know they're going to be redoing their website. They actually asked me to come on and do some
Someone's going to be a model.
Some beard modeling. So stay tuned for that. Oleoskin.com is their website. All right, let's jump into that conversation that we had with Chef Brandon Price, the culinary director of Even Stevens. Hopefully you all enjoy it. Thank you so much. Here's that conversation. We're going to get into the podcast now. Like I said, we're sitting down with Chef Brandon Price from Even Stevens. I like to even kind of go back a little bit and find out where's home. Like, where did you grow up even?
Well, I was born in Boulder, Colorado, and I grew up in Grand Junction. So if you've ever been to Grand Junction, Colorado, it's not the most exciting town, but it's turned into a beautiful wine country lately. So it's really cool that it's hip now. So I think about going back, and who knows what we can do with that. But I moved to Utah when I was a junior, moved to Logan, Utah. My dad was finishing up his master's up at the USU.
Okay.
Yeah. And then
So what did you think like when you moved there from Colorado to
from Colorado,
Logan?
I was a pretty classic Mormon. You grew up in the family, and it was easy in Colorado, and I came to Utah and it was a little different, like coming into Utah. Definitely the scene and the idea and Mormonism in general seemed like it changed a lot for me when I moved here. But so that was the biggest shock, is coming here. So, and I was in Logan for about a year. I moved to Heber, and that's where I graduated from high school. So I kind of call Heber home because my family's been there since like 1847 or something.
So always small towns.
Always
really.
small towns, yeah.
I mean, are you a small town person by nature?
I think so. I really love Salt Lake, but for some reason I want to move the family out to somewhere.
So you're one of those people that thinks Salt Lake City is too big.
It is. It is a little too big. I kind of want to go to Boise. Have you been to Boise?
I've never.
I've heard Boise.
I've never been. Well, maybe I've been
should go to
through.
Boise
My initial instinct when you say Idaho.
Should we just stop recording right now and just hop in the truck?
Yeah, because it's
and
beautiful.
Go to Boise.
Boise is like big enough that they have a food scene, but not too big that you feel like you're in a big city.
And I've heard the downtown scene, like with the bars and everything, is just epic.
Yeah. Epic.
Yeah,
we have so much fun. We have a restaurant on Bannock right there, and so we end up going there every couple of months, and it's amazing. It's a fun city. So that's more my style. But I love Salt Lake. I have a huge attachment to Salt Lake and love everything about it. And I'll always call this home. It's where I've been ever since I've been married, where my kids have been growing up, and so.
So growing up as a kid, though, what did you want to be? We all wanted to be something different as a kid, right? Did you want to be involved with food?
Did
you
actually
always have that interest?
I always wanted to be a chef. I think my dad tried to talk me out of it when I was like 10 or 11. It was like, it's a lot of work, a lot of hours. I knew the chefs up at, Deer Valley, and they just worked nonstop. And I don't know if you want that for your life. So I talked myself out of it for a lot of years. And I thought I was going to be a teacher for a while. I served an LDS mission in Brazil, and I came back, and all I could think about was food. I mean, it was like Food Network and Rachel Ray.
When you went to Brazil, the food there, were you just dying?
Amazing.
It's so
food
good.
is amazing in Brazil.
Yeah.
We actually went back just a couple of years ago and spent 15 days and traveled all around, me and my wife, and it was amazing. But,
oh, man.
Yeah.
So what were some of your first jobs, like in the food industry?
My first, a Domino's pizza.
Delivering or making the pizza?
No, making the pizzas. I was cooking back there, and it was so much fun. I loved it. I used to throw jalapenos on it just so I could eat them.
Was this before the pizza tracker?
I think, way before the pizza tracker.
You back up. Would you purposely screw up the pizzas?
Screw up the pizza so you could eat them. And so they'll hold the pizza for like 7 minutes and try to sell it to somebody else.
Yeah.
But if you put jalapenos, they never save it. So you just throw jalapenos on there.
Are you serious?
So I found out jalapenos, pepperoni, and pineapple were the greatest combination ever. It's a good pizza. You should try it.
Interesting.
So from Domino's, did you start getting into some fancier places?
No, not really.
Or?
I hit Domino's, and then I got into sports and stuff like that, so I didn't get hardcore. But when I came back, from the mission. My wife really is the one that pushed me and said, no, you're passionate about this. You need to go. And so I was at Salt Lake Community not really knowing what I wanted to do. And I switched my major to culinary arts.
Okay. So you went to school at Salt Lake Community for culinary arts then?
For about 2 semesters.
And that's it?
I got too bored with it.
That's the only schooling you've
Only
had?
schooling I got, yeah.
Really?
So kind of self-made, sort of, or
You're like
self-taught.
on the job.
Yeah, it's
training.
on the job, yeah. I worked for Lion House Pantry. So have you ever been there downtown? It's like a cafeteria stuff, and you would think that it's horrible food the way that it looks, but they're doing real food. They're making it from scratch. It's
They make
really
some
good
great
stuff.
rolls, don't
Oh
they?
yeah, the rolls are great.
I've heard of
and I
their
worked in that
rolls.
bakery too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I worked in that bakery, and I may or may not have the recipe, so just don't tell anybody.
We'll talk later.
What is it about food that you like? Like what is it about the food industry?
I feel like there's no way that you can make an impact in someone's life instantly, because I feel when we were, when I was first starting out kind of cooking, we'd invite friends over and we were making like caprese salads, or we were making just bruschetta, just simple things. But I saw people excited about what I was making and then wondering why I wasn't doing it professionally.
Sure.
And it was interesting to think of it as a profession because I talked myself out of it so many years before. But I noticed that it was just making people happy on a regular basis. It was easy. It was easy to do for me. And so I think that it's hard to find a profession where you're just constantly making people happy. In the food industry, it's easy. I mean, every single day you see smiles on your face, especially Even Stevens, So
how long, are we going to jump too far ahead if we get right into Even Stevens? Or
let's
between... Now, did you own your own place for a while?
I did.
Too?
Yeah, I owned my own cafe.
I was doing a little investigation on you before you came in here.
But it never
Super
said
creepy.
the name of the cafe online.
Okay, so the
are
cafe...
you trying to hide this from
No,
us?
not at all. It actually still exists. You can go and find it. But it was originally called Fiona Bistro. It was in the Sorensen Biomolecular Technology Building. Yeah.
Where's that at?
So it's right across from the Warnock Engineering Building on the east
Well,
side.
of course, I know where the Warnock is.
Yeah, the Warnock's right there. Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Okay, because I was like, I'm really out of the loop, you guys.
She's looking at me like the Warnock. Eh?
So it's right on campus. It's a huge, big, horrible scientific building.
So why'd you get out of that? Why you just didn't want to own your own thing anymore?
No.
What?
Like I say, technically, I still kind of own it.
Okay.
But no, I just realized that you can only do so much when you don't have a framework. And there I had no framework. And I was losing my passion because of it. So I didn't have really an aesthetic. It was whatever I felt like. So I was doing like Spanish style tapas. I was doing Thailandese, like, papaya salads. We were doing French style, coq au vin and things like that. Sure. Anything I wanted. And so it was amazing. It was so much fun and I could make money doing whatever I wanted. But what I found with that is I was like running out of cool things to do and I didn't find myself in a passion because I didn't have really a framework. And not to say that, you have to work inside a frame, but at the same time, when you have an aesthetic that you're inside, you're able to use influence that you have from other places to use it in an aesthetic. So right now I can use the flavor profile from a coq au vin and put it on a sandwich. And it's with chicken and red wine and different things that I can pull off. And that makes it so my passion still keeps fed.
I got you.
And I never
Makes
thought
sense.
that a frame or like a border would make it so I wouldn't be passionate anymore, but I was losing all my passion for the industry. I actually thought about going to the military. I thought about getting out of it. I didn't really want to do it anymore. So
when did you think about getting into the military? Recently?
No, well,
a while
sort of.
back.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while. So I just knew that I had to have something to look forward to, and I actually got out and I decided to go back to Italian cooking. So I was in Fresno for about a year. And
Wow, you've been all over.
I've been all over. Yeah. And I worked at a Northern Italian restaurant and I loved it so much. And I thought if I get back into that style of restaurant that I would get my passion back. And so I started working for Trio. So I know, Trio Restaurant Group here locally. I worked at the Cottonwood Heights location out there, so I was their executive chef.
Which they've made a good name for themselves.
They have,
here in,
and it's
Salt Lake
super
area, Utah.
consistent. It's beautiful. It tastes great, and they do have, they have great Italian food. It wasn't exactly what I wanted, so I knew that as well. I knew that it was a stepping stone to something bigger. But in the meantime, I met really cool people. I worked with. I worked with Logan Crew when I was out there. He actually works with us now at Even Stevens. I worked with, Jenny West, who's the executive chef at Eva now. And so I worked with great chefs while I was there. I was influenced by a lot of wonderful people. And so it was a great experience while I was there. But I knew that Italian food was really going to help get my passion back. And it did. Like overnight, I was just back thinking about new dishes and how I was going to change the menus and how I was going to, take over the world again.
That's awesome. I guess when you're kind of like stuck in a structure, it forces you to be creative.
It does.
Instead of just kind of like doing, which is weird. You wouldn't think that.
You wouldn't think that. But it's kind of like, I think of it like as a painter, that you don't have a canvas. And so it's like, what are you going to paint on? And so some paint on the walls and some paint wherever they want, and they find value in that. But others need the canvas. They need a framework. They need somewhere to put their work. And I felt like at my own spa that it was never being accepted, the kind of creativity that I was doing. And I guess I wasn't being recognized for it. So I felt like it was kind of being wasted.
Sure.
So,
I want to jump ahead. I want to get right into Even Stevens, man. I mean, the best sandwiches here in town, in my opinion. And I'm not just saying that. I'm not just saying that because you're sitting right here and you're going to punch me if I don't. If I say no. So, what exactly your title at Even Stevens?
I'm the culinary director.
So, what is? I mean, what's a day look like for you there?
It's interesting. So, today was a crazy day. Today we went out and we were testing products and new ovens. So there was another company that wants to sell us on ovens, and we're testing our products in new ovens. And
why do you need new ovens? What's
not necessarily we need new ovens. Okay. It's just the fact that just because we're big enough now, oven manufacturers like, we have a better product. You should try our product in ours. And so that's how the day started up today. We ended it with a Uena brewing tour. And so what's interesting is we really focus on this like craft aesthetic at Even Stevens. So we want everything as craft as we can possibly get, everything handmade as much as we can. So, I went to Stone Ground Bakery today around lunchtime and picked up some dough that we're testing out. And then we, and the beer and everything. So we're trying to get as many things that are just handmade and local as we possibly can. And so that's really my only job, is just to find as many awesome local products as we can and put them on a sandwich.
So you're not really in the kitchen making sandwiches up.
No, we're in the kitchen making sandwiches.
But you're kind of behind the scenes.
Yeah. So if you looked at our office, we're sitting at desks most of the time. We have a kitchen off to the left of us, but and we'll try a lot of things and we're constantly tasting, but at the same time, most of it starts on paper. We have ideas and we look at Instagram or Facebook and we're looking at trends and we're trying to find out what people are currently eating and what they would want to eat at our restaurant. And if things fit into to the restaurant style that we want right now.
How long have you been with Even Stevens now?
It's
since the beginning?
No, not at all. I've been there about 1 year and 7 months now. So it's been a restaurant for about 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So I didn't come in the very beginning.
I remember when I discovered it for the first time. It was I believe it's the first one right downtown, like by the
7-Eleven,
by Big Lots there. What is that? Fourth and
east
second?
And second south. Yeah.
And I was like, I felt like I was like, oh my gosh. And I felt like, I was worried, right? I was like, man, this place isn't going to succeed.
Tell anyone about it?
Yeah.
Well, no, I wanted to tell everybody about it because I felt like it was kind of tucked away back there, right? And I was like, oh man, this place is gonna, because how a lot of restaurants here in Salt Lake, they're open for like a few months and then they shut their doors. They don't make it.
Yeah.
And so I was worried, but you guys seem like, you just opened up a store in Arizona.
Yeah,
and
we have 10 locations now total.
What?
That's so rad.
And so that first location it was great, but it is kind of tucked away and it's kind of hard to find. But that's our highest revenue puller right now. They're just killing it all day long from like 9 a.m. until 3:00 in the afternoon. They've got a line out the door, and so they kill it. But at the same time, in the beginning, it was a lot harder because we had to develop a way to give the sandwich back. And it's harder than you think, because the idea was great. Like, let's go to Pioneer Park. Let's make a bunch of sandwiches the end of the night. We sold 300 sandwiches, make 300, and we'll give them away at Pioneer Park, and we'll just kill it. But that's not the way that it works. We had to come up with a good way and an authentic way of giving a sandwich away so that we could feel good about it and that people that research us, would know that we're actually doing it. And that's what's hard, is because nobody believes us. We go into Arizona, we have 3 locations now, and it's hard to find somebody. They're like, yeah, sure, you're really giving a sandwich away.
So if I buy a Reuben, you're going to give a Reuben away? Or
in a way, actually, in a way. So it depends. So we work with some great, producers, and we actually use Double L Ranch for all of our meats, and that's produced in Richville, Utah. So it's, we're going there tomorrow, actually. So that's just north of Logan, right on the border. And so all of our beef is coming from, northern Utah, all of our pork from southern Idaho. And, we can feel really good about that. But what they do as well is make some products for our nonprofits. So our nonprofits, I would hate to say the wrong number, but it's over 30 products that we have available. So the way that it works is that for every sandwich that we sell, we donate a monetary value, right, of that sandwich to a nonprofit that's in the area. So each location has 4 nonprofits. So they have a fund basically that we're just putting money into.
Okay.
So it depends on the location, but I mean, a lot of these guys are pulling, $10,000 a month from us.
I want to actually jump right in. So we have a Facebook group for I Am Salt Lake listeners, a little community behind the scenes on Facebook. And I threw it out there that I'd be chatting with you. And there was a few questions that are kind of based on this topic.
I know. I keep trying to not jump ahead.
Yeah, well, so Nicole asks, was the guy from Tom's the business model inspiration? The
it was
shoes,
actually.
the shoe
it
guy,
was.
right?
It was. We felt that it was really nice that they were giving away shoes. But what was the real problem that we had currently in Utah? And I mean, we have 1 in 7 people are insecure about what their next meal is going to look like. And we knew that shoes are really awesome, but that's not what we wanted to create in Utah. We knew that hunger was an issue in Utah. And so the way that we could do it is by giving back a sandwich. And so.
And then Jay Looney, are you familiar with the Chow Truck at all?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Jay Looney, he's actually been on the podcast.
Very cool.
He asked, how does he do it? From a food cost perspective, how does he keep his sandwiches affordable and competitively priced and still have the budget to donate 1-to-1?
Okay, so the way that we do it is, so most restaurants, and Jay would know this as well, that they usually spend about 7 to 10% of their bottom line on advertising and marketing, and we spend none. All of that budget goes straight to the nonprofits.
So you guys do zero advertising?
Zero advertising.
I swear I've seen an ad of you guys.
Yeah, but that's the thing is what's nice about it is we work with, let's say like Salt Lake City Weekly.
Yeah.
Right. And so Salt Lake City Weekly, we want to run an ad, but it's actually to try and help, the cause. And so they're using it in a way like, oh, we're helping, we're philanthropic.
It's like a donation.
It's like a donation.
Yeah.
So they're like saying, hey, we want to work with you guys. What can we do? And we'll do a lot of trade and things like that to do with them. But we just can't spend money on our marketing because that's already dedicated to our
Well, let's
nonprofits.
talk after I'd love to do a trade. No.
Let's do it. Yeah.
really
that's
cool
how it works.
because
That's how we do it. Yeah.
I'd love a sandwich.
Yeah.
I'll mention even Stevens all
I'd
day
love a
long.
sandwich.
And so the monetary value, it fluctuates according to market, but it's usually around like 54 cents. And so a lot of people think like 54 cents isn't that much. But if you think of 54 cents for every sandwich that we sold, think of how many sandwiches we've sold in the last 2.5 years. It's been over 1 million. It's like 1.1 million now. And so do the math, 1.1 million times 54 cents. I mean, we donated over $500,000.
Wait, how many sandwiches have you donated? You said 1.
It's like, I think it's 1. We could look it up right now. I don't know for sure, but it's around 1.1 million sandwiches.
That's good enough for
That's-
the.
that's-
Yeah,
I would
right?
say that's-
I don't need. So
Well, you guys just passed the $1 million.
It's 1,134,509.
Well, and what's cool is you can go in and it will have the number.
It does. It has a number count.
Popping up there, and I'm
Exactly.
like, oh, cool. It just
Went up
and
so we passed $1
I'm
million
always so
not too long
distracted
ago.
by the cool swag. I don't know if I've ever seen that.
Let's talk about the swag
Yeah.
for a minute. I mean, you guys are brilliant marketers.
Yeah.
We like to think so.
I mean,
like to think so.
really. I mean, it's awesome. I mean, well, Trent Call, right? Did
Trent Call's doing a lot of our stuff. Yeah,
did a lot of the art.
Yeah, tons of the art. Yeah, inside the restaurant. So if you look in our independent restaurants, the downtown location, the entire wall as you're walking in, that's all Trent Call art that's on the wall. But inside our restaurants like Ogden and Boise, they actually does artwork inside the restaurant, and
who did Trent Call?
Yeah, Trent Call did. Yeah.
Yeah, because he went because I remember seeing a post when the St. George one was open up. He went down.
He did
there.
I'm pretty sure he did that whole mural of the station wagon on the side. Don't quote me on that.
We got to make a road trip down there just for a sandwich. No, I'm a big fan of Trent Call. I love his.
In the Boise
his
location,
art.
we actually hooked because we were in Freak Alley, and Freak Alley is a pretty famous spot in Boise, Idaho, and it's this whole alley that's just full of graffiti, but it's like strategically placed graffiti. And so we got a little spot for him, so he went and was doing that when we were opening the restaurant. And then him and Michael McHenry, so I don't know if you know him, he's kind of the boss man, the president of Even Stevens, and he actually went and they were doing graffiti on it in the middle of the night. So
that's so cool.
They're hardcore.
So you said you've been with Even Stevens for like a year and a half.
About a year and a half, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Have you had anything to do with any of the sandwiches, or were all the sandwiches already in place?
So we've done a lot of work on the menu. There a lot of the core menu started out the way that it is, but the only sandwich that we haven't really touched yet is the turkey pot roast, which we just barely kind of changed. We increased the size of it. We put more meat on it and more cheese on it and kind of, up the flavor a little bit. But that's the kind of tweaks that we like to do, is just, we really love the menu and people are already addicted to it. And so if we take things away and add more things, that
you're going to have a riot on your hands.
There's so many advocates for each sandwich. So the other restaurants that I've been to, or, in general that I've worked at, there's one item that everybody loves, right? People come to that restaurant for that item. But the problem is with Even Stevens is that the 15 sandwiches that are on the menu currently, there's 300 to 500 advocates that get that every single month and would literally try and kill you if you took it off the menu.
Oh yeah.
And so we try to do more of adjustments and additions rather than plus and minus. So.
And I want to publicly say right now, so I'm a big fan of sandwiches, right? Like I love sandwiches. Guys at work make fun of me. They're like, "Oh, you can make a sandwich at home. Why would you?" Okay, so I love
make a sandwich at home.
Yeah, exactly. You can. No, so I'm a big fan. And a couple of years ago, I eliminated gluten out of my diet, and then I found out you guys have gluten-free bread, which was a game changer for me. Mm-hmm. I was like, "Oh my gosh." Well, I think of Sarah, Facebook
Sarah,
friends with Sarah, and I somehow reached out to her, and I was like, "Oh, do you guys have gluten-free bread?" Or I heard you guys did, and so that was a game changer.
Yeah.
I mean, what made you decide to carry gluten-free bread, or is that? I mean, that's probably not that even deep of a question.
To an extent, it is. I mean, the issues that we have is that there's a huge demographic of people that just don't want it in their diet. The problem is that celiac disease as an autoimmune disorder is really tough and it's hard. And the problem is in our restaurant there's so many contaminants towards that, since we're slicing, we're baking, we're making sandwiches, that it's hard for us to really appeal to all of those people. But in general, we knew that having a gluten-free bread, there's tons of people with gluten intolerance that would help out. And so we just decided that there was no way that we could put a gluten-free bread that didn't taste just fucking awesome.
Oh yeah.
And so
it is, it's good bread.
And so we work with City Cakes. So I don't know if you're familiar with City Cakes Bakery here locally.
I am.
And so we work really, really closely with Dave over there, and he's amazing to work with. And he's actually supplying our Arizona stores now, because we were trying to find
with
some
gluten-free bread.
Some gluten-free bakeries out there. And we love all the Arizona products that we got, but for some reason we just are, it's hard for us to find something as good as what we have in Salt Lake. And so everybody in Salt Lake that's listening, just know that there's some damn good food here. And so no matter what anybody says, we're traveling around the nation right now. And what we're doing is trying to scale what we've created here because it's so good.
Yeah.
And we actually worked with them to make a cookie. So we have a special cookie that's only in Even Stevens called the Pookie Pie.
Oh, ooh, I like it.
Have you tried it?
Oh my gosh,
we got that?
We got it because it's isn't it like vegan and gluten-free?
Yeah, vegan, gluten-free.
And I was
it's like an Oreo that's like 4 inches wide.
I thought it was going to be disgusting. We kind of got it just because I'm like, I have to know how terrible this is.
Yeah.
And it is so good.
It's so good.
It's
and it was so funny because I was talking with Dave. We're actually opening our Ogden location, and David, he's like, you should be carrying our cookies. There needs to be an option for gluten-free cookies out there. And I'm like, gluten-free vegan, man, I'm not sure, dude. As a chef, that like hurts my soul to even say those words together.
You took all the good things out.
Yeah, and he's like, no, you got to try them. So he sent me a box to try. And I tried their chocolate chip, their double chocolate chip. And I'm like, it tastes like a brownie the first bite.
Yeah.
And the second bite, I'm like, it's like a really good cookie. And the third bite, I'm like, damn, what happened to it? It's already like almost disintegrating in my hand. And so I call him, I'm like, I'd really like to use your products, but by the fourth bite, it was already dry. Like, how do we fix the dryness? Like, let's fix it. And so we worked kind of together, and we decided that a white chocolate buttercream, right? Because white chocolate, technically vegan in the way you can turn into a buttercream. And that's actually what's inside Oreos, is a white chocolate cream. And so we did that. And when he did it, we tried it and we're like, oh, it keeps moisture because of that thing. But then when they actually packaged them with it, just made the whole thing moist and delicious. I hate to say moist on, this many times, but it was just, it was an amazing cookie, and it was just so easy. And right now the entire staff is addicted to it. And the problem is we can't like give it to every single employee right now on their shift because it does cost money, eventually.
Right. Yeah.
But no, the whole HQ is addicted to them, and we end up getting like a dozen of them every couple of weeks. So
That's so awesome.
We actually have to take a quick break for a message from our sponsor, but we have some more questions. I know Chrissy does. I do. But so hang tight, and we'll be back with Brandon here in just a second. This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Jed's Barbershop. With 3 locations now, you have no reason to not always look your best. Go get a haircut, a beard trim, or even a straight razor shave. Jed's Barbershop is open 7 days a week, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., Saturday 9 to 7, and Sunday 12 to 5. They have a location downtown at 212 South, 700 East, and in Sugar House at 2153 East, 2100 South. They just opened up a 3rd location at 167 East, 900 South, right next to Randy's Records. No appointment is necessary. Head on over to jedsbarbershop.com for more information. Back to kind of the local, we were talking about local ingredients that you use. Do you ever run into like a supply problem?
Always.
With it being locally sourced? Because pretty much, pretty much most of your food is local.
Yeah, it is actually tons of it. Because you think of almost all of our meat products are made locally. All of our bread is made locally. Most of our cheese is made locally. We get all of our beer locally, except for Bud Light. And so, yeah, we do run into issues with our volume. It's really hard to, I guess, manufacture that much, but we work with suppliers. Obviously, one of the defining characteristics of suppliers that we're working with right now is they're able to grow with us. That's what we want.
Sure.
And so if they can't currently grow, they need to scale so they can grow. Yeah. And so, with that said, like David, we were talking about from City Cakes, he actually invested in a whole new line so he could, bag those cookies properly. And we work with Double L Ranch in Richfield, and they're already really huge, but they're already investing in more. And with that said, we use a New York strip on our do Gouda sandwich, and they can't produce enough of it right now. Because we're going through so much, and we put 4.5 ounces now on the do Gouda, so it's a big sandwich. But even with that said, in the last 3 weeks, we've almost doubled our usage. And so, it's hard for a manufacturer in a couple weeks to be like, oh yeah, so you were using 300 pounds, now you're using 600 this week. Like, how can we keep up? And so we were out of that sandwich for, a couple hours, which was great that it was only that much. But at the same time, for people to keep up with our current, growth, it's pretty impressive. So,
wow. What makes you drop a sandwich or add a new sandwich? Is it just
drop it?
Yeah,
but
no. I mean,
but
get rid of it, right?
Yeah,
well, so there's some real psychology that go into menu development, which you wouldn't think that it's that crazy. But if you notice when you're looking at a menu, like where your eyes go first every time. And so I don't know why, but naturally, human beings, right, will go the top right every time. So whatever you're putting at the top right of your folded menu is what's going to sell the most by average. It's just how things work. So everyone will go there first and they'll buy it first. And it's the way you set up your menu and everything. But one thing that always stays, pretty normal is that the bottom 3 sellers of the menu will rotate out, and you rotate them out and you put 3 in that you think will sell better. And then you'll keep rotating always, and it keeps things fresh. But the problem with that, like I say, with even Stevens is, as we rotate sandwiches out and we change things, we just have so many advocates. Because for example, they had a great breakfast menu before I got here. It sold pretty well, and it had really great ingredients. And we just made a few tiny adjustments, like put tater tots in the burrito. And people went crazy. They're like, you guys had red potatoes in there. Why did you change it? This is insane.
Oh, no.
And I was kind of like, well, just wait. It's going to be okay. And now the burrito sales are through the roof. And so we know that was a good decision. Mm-hmm. But the people that originally, we got basically death threats when we made that change. And it was just something so simple of just switching the potato. And it was really, from my perspective, I just wanted something that was just different. Like, everybody's putting potatoes. Like, you can go to your local, Beto's style burrito place, and you can get potatoes in your burrito. So people are going to go there for the breakfast burrito. Like, why would they go to us? But doing something just a little bit different. And I thought tater tots, since we had tater tots on the menu and it fits our style and it's kind of quirky, and tater tots are just fucking delicious anyway. So,
yeah, they make everything better.
Yeah. So we did that. So it was great. And but like the breakfast sandwich, we made it bigger. We put like a maple glaze on it, so it sweetened it up.
Thank you.
Yeah, right.
I just want to say thank you.
And what happened is the breakfast sandwich went from like a number 9 or 10 seller, on the menu, to number 4. And so that's what our goal is. We just want to touch something and make it sell better overnight, and without any marketing, because we don't really have that. We use social media, and that's pretty much it. And social media is pretty much free. So
social media. I mean, businesses
that's the new marketing.
Yeah,
that don't take advantage of it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're missing out.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
I haven't tried the Reuben yet, but I did take. I work with a bunch of programmers, and I take them to the Draper Even Stevens as much as possible because I'm addicted and I need my fix. And one of our new programmers who moved from somewhere else, I think out east, got the Reuben and was freaking out.
Nice.
He's like, apparently he's a huge Reuben snob, and he has not been able to find a quote unquote real Reuben out here. And he was so excited. And I don't really know exactly the details of why that's so great.
We did a lot of research on this one. This one was it's close to my heart because we worked really hard on it. But what we found is on the East Coast, the big difference between the Reubens there and the Reubens on the West Coast in general is the West Coast, the Reubens, the corned beef isn't cooked super tender, so that you can slice it really thin. So they don't cook it as tender, so they can slice it thin, put a bunch of thinly sliced, corned beef or pastrami or whatever you want on that sandwich. But on the East Coast, what they do is cook it till it's almost fallen apart, pull tender, and they slice big, thick slices of it. And when I was thinking, the Jewish delis in New York really invented this, so why not, pay homage to them? And so that's what we did is we got tender corned beef, and what that did is made it so it was just a better sandwich. And then we, because it was really a Michael McHenry thing, right? Well, I'll quote a lot of his stuff, throughout this, but he wanted a pretty looking sandwich, and he thinks Reubens are ugly, right? And so he thinks Reubens are super ugly. And so the issue is a lot. I started to research it, and a lot of Jewish delis, what they'll do is use beets and red cabbage and things like that, especially the Russian style, the Jewish delis, and they'll have purple cabbage, kraut. And he's like, I want purple cabbage kraut. And we did it, and it just looked so beautiful. And when we made the kraut in-house and did tender, fork tender corned beef, it just turned into this beautiful sandwich. And then we had, the swirl rye, and we got a couple classic things like Russian dressing on there. And so it just made things amazing. And when we put it all together, we're like, shit, this is a real sandwich now. And I think it's like 5 ounces of corned beef on it as well. So it's like, it's hard to eat.
Yeah.
It's
good. Yeah.
It's a lot of good corned beef.
So when you're at home, I mean, are you a pretty big cook at home on your own time? Or
yeah.
Are
so
you kind of like, all right, I've been doing that all day at work.
It depends. During the week, my wife is a great cook. She's actually Brazilian. So she brings all of that awesome, food culture with her, and she's a great cook. But she works too as a photographer. So she's got lots of, she works all day as well. So the last thing you want to do is cook a lot of the time. Right. But the girls are really fond of pancakes and waffles. So I make those just about every single day. So you
don't just bring sandwiches home,
No. I'm super awesome at pancakes and waffles. So if you guys want any of that one day, I can kill it
Nice.
for you. Yeah.
I'll keep that in mind.
Do you ever use the waffles and make a sandwich?
All the time. I've
never done that.
We're actually working on it like a secret project, and it actually has a waffle sandwich, which is really cool. We're calling it the hipster. So when you see that one day,
nice. You got to go try it then.
Yeah, you have to try it. You have to come in. Oh yeah. It's super top secret right now. But so at home we cook a lot. I do a lot of more braised dishes. And so I'll do like bolognese, or I'll, do, short ribs or something braised, something that you don't have to touch as much. You play with it, you get the nice flavors, you develop them in the pan, and then you just like forget it,
We've had a lot of food people on here, and they're like, well, believe it or not, I just pour a bowl of cereal.
Oh, no.
When I get home.
My wife went to Brazil for 3 months, and literally that's what I lived off of, was cereal and soy milk because I'm lactose intolerant, right?
Okay.
Cereal, soy milk, and Diet Dr. Pepper. That's all I lived on for like 3 months when she was gone. Because like when you're by yourself, you're not going to cook by yourself.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
that's the thing. Is like you don't. I mean, it's so difficult to be a single person and cook. Yeah. That's why even Stevens is
great.
Exactly. That's how it was.
Exactly. Come in, we'll feed you.
I lived in
time.
a small studio apartment right up there on First Avenue, and so I'd come down to Even Stevens and get a sandwich. That was back when I was single and living by myself.
And when we started dating, he's like, "We have to go to Even Stevens," and he pulls me in there, the downtown location, gave me like a tour of the whole place, talked about Trent Call, showed me all the artwork, and then talked about all the sandwiches on the menu.
It was my sanctuary.
It was like I got the full insider scoop from dating this guy because he's been there so much.
Very cool. Yeah, have you been to the other locations as well?
I've been to the one that's up here in Sugar House, kind of up the road. I think that's it.
I've been to the Draper one.
Yeah,
also.
The Draper one's pretty dope because we did Widowmaker and there's a bunch of like motorcycles in there and things like that.
It's pretty cool.
Each restaurant is pretty independent. So we work with a really awesome architectural group and they design everything according to the area. They pull things from the area that they really liked and use antiques from the area as well and build a restaurant.
So there's Draper, Sugar House, downtown, Logan, Ogden, St. George, Boise.
Yep, and then Gilbert, Arizona, downtown Phoenix in Arizona, and Tempe, Arizona as well. And then next month we'll have Arcadia and Scottsdale in Arizona as well, and we're working on Sloan's Lake and Rhino District in Denver as well.
Nice.
So
that's so great.
And you probably get to travel around all these places.
Unfortunately, yeah, I got to go to every single little location and have to try new products and local bakeries and cookies and beer. It's so tough.
So do you think that you guys are going to eventually like try to find local ingredients from the area where the actual restaurants are?
That's what we do currently.
Oh, okay. See, I was thinking you actually took it from Salt Lake location and spread it out.
It kind of depends. So there's some partners that we have here locally that we just can't find anything better.
Yeah.
And so then we call them kind of like, our eternal partnerships, and then we have craft partners in each location. So in Phoenix, we work with Santan Brewery. We work with Noble Bread. We work with what is their name? Cotton Country jellies and things like that. So here, we use Pepper Lane, and there we use Cotton Country. And so it's just, we want to get those local products for a couple of reasons. For one, we want to appeal to the local population, right?
Yeah.
And so we actually found Cotton Country from going to farmers markets, and we're like, oh, that's really great. And that's funny because we actually found Pepper Lane that way when we were first opening the downtown location. We found Pepper Lane from farmers markets. And so we just know that the first thing that I'd usually go to is a farmers market in the area. And we end up going to, a couple like tap rooms that have a bunch of beer on tap, and we're able to see, what people are drinking. We just want to know what they're drinking, what they're eating, and then try and put that into the restaurant that we're currently creating. Because we want to be a part of the community. We want to hire people from the community. We want to have products from the community. We don't want to be that, big, multi-unit chain restaurant that just comes in and takes employees away and takes business away. That's not what we want. We want to be a part of the community.
You're actually growing whatever community you move into.
That's what we want. Why Arizona, though? It seems like you've kind of gone in and attacked Arizona versus maybe Idaho or...
So Idaho, we have another location in Idaho as well. But in Arizona, we just know that the population, I think it's like, I don't know, I can't remember. Maybe it's like 13 million or something.
Oh, like in Phoenix?
In Phoenix. That's a huge area.
Really?
And there's so many people there. And what we've noticed is that the restaurants there the restaurant concepts are really amazing and the design is amazing. But what I've noticed is that the food, in my opinion, obviously my opinion isn't, absolute, but is lacking a little bit. And what I found is that if we design a cool restaurant in the area and give them good food, that all of a sudden it's just crazy. Like our downtown Phoenix location is one of our top performing restaurants currently. It's only been in a restaurant for like 3 months.
Oh, wow. That's rad.
So it's a great market for us.
I like to find out, I like to bring people on here and find out a little bit about you as a person, step outside of what we're talking about. When you're not making food, what are some of your other hobbies and interests, things you enjoy doing, is food pretty much consuming?
Food consumes a lot, and then I got 4 little daughters at home, and they consume just about all the other time that I have. I have a beautiful wife as well, and she's amazing, and she helps out a ton, and she has a lot in photography and things like that. But at home, I really like reading. And so, but what happens is I go towards the culinary and cookbooks and things like that a lot. I'm beginning to home brewing recently, so that's been a lot of fun. Not at my house because my wife's not into that stuff, but we do it at the headquarters. And so
work home brewing.
Yeah. Work home brewing, right? And
it sounds like I need to get a job at Even
I
Stevens.
know. Well, there's a slide there too if you haven't seen it yet.
I have seen it from the outside when I go into the
You
location.
should go in and go down the slide. If you tuck your legs, you get some major heat on it.
I'll show up one day. I'll say, hey, Brandon said I can go down the slide, guys.
Yes.
We had him on the podcast.
And there may or may not be a bar up there as well. Just saying.
Oh, man.
We usually have beer in the fridge.
Funland.
And we have La Barba cold brew on tap there as well. So we have some fun.
Well, sign me up.
I know, right?
Do you have like a most memorable concert or sporting event that you've been to?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I can't remember the year it was. It would have been like 2005. I went to the Starlight Room in Portland, and I saw Modest Mouse.
Oh, nice.
5 nights in a row.
What?
Oh,
I know,
really?
it was amazing.
So was this like maybe early 2000s?
Yeah. I think it was 2000. I think it would have been 2004, 2005.
Okay.
When I went, and me and a couple of my friends were really big Modest Mouse fans. I'd never seen them in concert, and it was the end of their tour, so they were coming home. It was like it was the end of the tour, and they were coming home, and they were going to do 4 nights, and so we bought 4 nights worth of tickets, and then so we would go to the concert at night, and then in the morning we were going to like the Indian casinos they had up there, and they had, what else is up there? Mount St. Helens. There were so many cool things. So during the day we would sightsee, and we wouldn't sleep at all, right? And then we would go and see Modest Mouse at night, and then by the time we got the metro home at like 2:00 in the morning, it was already ready to
Sure.
go and do something else cool.
Well, I think that was about the same time I saw him. Modest Mouse played here in Salt Lake. It was during the Olympics.
Oh, yeah.
So I think, when were the Olympics here in Salt Lake? It was like 2002,
2003, something like that. Yeah.
So it was about probably that same time. Oh my gosh,
they're amazing.
I know I've seen him some other place too. I can't remember where else I saw him, but
yeah. So that was the most memorable concert for sure. Because then I ended up, serving LDS mission right after that. So that was like the last hurrah before I was, locked down for 2 years in Brazil. So
and all their delicious barbecue.
Oh man, it was amazing.
If you could go back to your first day of high school and give yourself advice, is there something you would tell yourself?
Yeah, like don't let anybody else decide what you want to do. Because I feel like when I got to high school, I was already like, no, I have to go to college. I have to do these other things because I decided that, cooking wasn't going to work for me, that it wasn't a good, family life, that it wasn't a good thing. But, currently, I live a pretty awesome life, in my opinion, right? I have 4 beautiful daughters. I have a wife that loves me. I spend plenty of time with them. I'm able to cook and share my passion with everybody during the day. And at night, I get to share my passion and knowledge with my, my daughters. And so I feel like people, kind of shit on the idea of being a chef a lot because you're constantly working, but that part of like, making your bones in the industry is such a short time that if you can just get through that it's an amazing, way to live your life as a chef. So
that's awesome. And a lot of people don't get to that point.
It's true.
I
thought about it when I was in California. I worked for this crazy lady called Elena Mastro. Username because she's such a mean person that I feel like if she got this podcast that she would know that I really dislike her. But she taught me so much because she was so mean to me that I had to fight through it, because that was the time I was telling you that I was thinking about going to the military. It's because I was like, there's no way this industry has anything for me. You don't make enough money. There's no benefits. There's no retirement here. And all you do is get yelled at by a crazy Italian lady and get Parmesan thrown in your face and called like fangulu, which means fucker, just so you guys know. She called me all the time that. And so it was a really tough time in my life, but she taught me how to make pasta properly. And she taught me how there's no compromise in what you're doing, that you can't cut corners, that you can't decide that today you're going to do it with 1 less egg, Like it's the same every time, and you have to do it that way because that's the Italian way. And so I use that throughout my life. There's just a way of doing things. There's no sense in cutting corners. There's no sense in trying to find a better way to do it. If you just make it right the first time, that it always turns out proper.
Do you find that like now you're super grateful for that experience?
So
like it
grateful.
Actually made you who
so
you are?
Grateful. I mean, I lost like 30 pounds during that time, so I got to be skinny again. That was great.
Hey, you know, stress.
As a chef,
Good.
you know, like I was putting on some pounds, and when I went there, you know, working like 90 hours a week, and I never saw any family during that time. But once I got through that, I knew that I would never be the same again. That I would always have respect for that style of food. I would always have respect for that restaurant. I have respect for her, even though she was mean, and have respect for the actual products, because you know a lot of times you'll see here especially in Utah, you know, real Parmigiano Reggiano or Grana Padano is too expensive. So use like black wax, use something from Argentina, use something different. It just changes everything. And she just taught me that you need the real product if you want the real result, that you can't fake it. And I think in Even Stevens, you know, so much, you know, it's a sandwich shop. So you're charging $8 for a sandwich. You know, there's all kinds of temptations in order to cut corners. We've just found that when we're using real food, that it just works out for us. You know, for example, we were talking with Double L Ranch, and we had a really nice roast beef sandwich. And they're like, we actually could put New York strip for cheaper. It's like, yes, let's do it. You know, it's just, and that was a better product. And we didn't want to cut the corners. And when we found it, we just knew that was the way to do it. You know,
right on.
Real products.
I want to open it up right now. We have our Patreon supporter, Jared, in here. I don't know if you want to come over here. If you have any questions.
He's 2 beers deep.
If you have any, here, come on over here for a second. If you want to, I don't know if you want to, so you've been sitting over there watching. I mean, do you have any questions for Brandon possibly, or?
Well, I was just thinking, you know, what's your year or 2 or 3, maybe even 5-year plan for yourself?
That's a good question. I mean, the thing about it is what we've noticed is that with Even Stevens, we had so many choices, right? So it was more like, how can we expand Even Stevens? And we realized that we're really good at restaurants and that we shouldn't limit ourselves just to sandwich. And so we've got some cool things coming on. So I'm not supposed to talk much about this kind of stuff, but we have a couple of the restaurants that we're working on, you know, styles of restaurants. We've got breweries in the work and things like that we're trying to work on. So we're having a lot of fun with those things. But I see, you know, 3 and 4 or 5 years that the group that Even Stevens originally was founded by will, you know, basically take over the restaurant industry.
Have you ever thought about doing a food truck?
No, we actually have one.
Is it? Wait,
really?
there is an Even Stevens food truck?
Yeah, so
Where is it at?
it's super DL, right? So we call it the pop-up shop. And it's a repurposed shipping container.
Oh, I think I've seen it.
And Trent Call actually did all the graffiti on the outside of it.
The Granary Row, didn't they have it down there?
We did Granary Row. We did Country Fan Fest. We did what was that? Craft Lake City. Craft Lake City. We did a concert out in St. George, and so it's really cool. It's just it sits on this huge truck, and we just offload it and drop it on the ground, and it's everything that Even Stevens has. So it has the same style of oven, same style of sandwich tops, refrigeration. It has a 3-compartment sink, a water heater, everything on the inside of it.
That's awesome.
It's dope.
How do I get one?
I know, right?
You've eaten Even Stevens, haven't you, Jared?
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
Yeah, it's good food.
Breakfast burritos are awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Sandwiches are amazing.
Yeah.
I love it all.
Nice. Yeah, and so but you know, as you see this spring now, we'll start bringing the pop-up shop back surfacing right now. So we're taking it to Tree Fort in Boise. So it's a huge music festival.
I got a coworker going up to
nice.
that.
And then we're doing Bonanza as well this year.
That's out at
That's
Heber.
in Heber.
Yeah,
Yep. My alma
that's what I
mater.
was telling you about. I was like, let's go out to Bonanza,
Yeah.
camp out there.
Oh,
I mean,
you should.
Do
you know who's there?
I know one of Missy Elliott, I think is
Lauren Hill.
or Lauren Hill.
Lauren Hill, you believe that? I haven't seen Lauren Hill has been in concert forever, and now she's doing Bonanza in Heber City, Utah.
Yeah.
Like, how can you not go? But it's also like, who was it? Like Method Man?
Yeah,
like,
Method Man and Red Man.
Yeah,
I mean,
Red Man,
the
they have some
crazy
great
lineup.
Yeah. And so we'll be out there with our food truck out there, and so it'll be fun. So hopefully I'll be working it so I can watch.
If Chrissy and I come out there,
Yes.
you know, we'll have to come and
Please.
say hi to you.
Most definitely.
Don't leave me, guys, please.
Yeah, well, we'll take Jared.
I'll camp out there, you know, in the wilderness.
We'll bring a tent or a teepee, whatever.
No, we
feel
did
like
Country
bringing.
Fan Fest last year, and it was so much fun. And that was the same idea as like camping out. And I'm not super into country music, but it was a good experience. We're really, really good friends with the band Royal Bliss. And
Sure.
So They always wear our hats in their music videos and stuff right now. So they love Even Stevens as well.
So before I forget, we ask every person that comes on, whether they work with food or not, other favorite local eating spots in the area. Just a fun question we ask.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's other places you enjoy to stuff your face.
No, me and my wife are like staple. I mean, whenever we're going out to eat, we always want to try something different, but what we end up going to every time is Eva, because like Jenny West, she's so that she might not be a huge fan of me right now. I don't know. She hasn't called me back in a while, but the menu that she's been creating at Eva has been just amazing lately.
Yeah.
And we really like Current. We went to Current a while back, and we loved that. We went to HSL and Handle. They're doing Briar there is doing some really amazing things with food as well. I think that he's really leading what the Utah idea of fine dining is right now. It's really exciting to watch him and some of the crazy dishes that he's pulling off there. That's really exciting. Let's see. My house is really good.
Yeah. I'm just always curious, because it's like I like to, again, I mean, that's why you guys, Even Stevens, is such a perfect, I mean, that's what I Am Salt Lake is all about, just supporting local.
Yeah. That's what we want to
do. And keeping the money here in Salt Lake, in my opinion. Or
it's pretty funny that the Sugar House location, they'll see other food that we get at the headquarters there, and they get super offended. They're just like, why would you go anywhere but Even Stevens?
Oh, really?
Do you guys ever try to trade sandwiches? You call up and go, we'll send you over some, or maybe you can't talk about that.
Well, it's tougher than you might imagine to do that, but we do some trade work with like Vive Juicery. We do a lot of trade work with them, so we trade juice for juice is sandwich for juice a lot, and we do some other trade work here and there. But yeah, like I say, you got to keep a little bit on the DL, because the accountants don't want to know about that shit,
right? Yeah. But
so
your tummy does.
What else? Is there anything you would change about Salt Lake City if you could? I mean, it's a beautiful place.
It is a beautiful place. I feel like, the more that I become a little more intimate with the surrounding areas, the more I like it. But what I really liked about Salt Lake, let's say like 10 years ago, was that it had a lot more country to it. And I'd say like country music and cowboys, but
a lot more open land.
And I feel like those horrible little developments of all the same houses that are popping up right now are making my soul hurt a little bit.
Yeah, but they're customers of your sandwich.
It's true. They are customers of our sandwich, and we love the idea. And honestly, like it's probably the only kind of house that I can afford right now, so I love the idea of it. But in my mind, like, if I could change anything about Salt Lake, it'd be pulling all those like weird townhomes that look all alike.
Like get rid of the cookie cutter stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. And just like bring back the green land and the horses.
Sure.
That's what I kind of dig about like what they're doing in Daybreak.
Yeah.
They're doing it up north too. Like they're still building. Well,
It's a lot of the cookie cutter stuff, but at the same time, there is a lot more country there. They got like the lakes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's pretty, but we moved away to California for a couple of years, me and my wife, and the whole time we were there, we're like, why in the hell are the highways so shitty out here in California? And why are the towns so far apart? And like the grocery store is like 30 miles away. And so you don't realize how good you have it in Utah, because you go to Portland, you go to LA, you go, to Fort Lauderdale, Florida. It's all the same. Like everything's so far away, and Salt Lake is so close. Like you jump on 215 and you're there, and you jump on I-15 and you're there. And it's just like you're 15 minutes away from everything. And this town is well planned. It's one thing that our ancestors here did properly, is plan a really great city, and it's beautiful. If it weren't for the inversion, it would be perfect. So
I agree.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to ask Jared, or you? Not to put you on the spot or anything.
How'd you guys get so handsome? Nice beards.
Yeah, you gotta keep the beard healthy with a little oil.
I should have brought some of the oleo beard oil.
That's
Jed's.
I should have brought some in. But so how can people find Even Stevens?
Stevens, the website is a great place.
Yeah.
Instagram as well. We have a great Instagram following, and we always post some cool stuff. And you can follow me as well as Chef Brandon Price on Instagram. I usually post like what we're working on at the time, so you can see like things before we ever hit the menu. You can see pictures of it a lot of times on my Instagram.
Sure.
So it's really fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I'll put all those links at iamsaltlake.com with this episode.
Yeah.
I'll put, the locations. I don't know if I'll get every location on there, but,
the important ones.
At least the main important ones for Salt Lake City.
For sure, yeah.
Go grab a sandwich. Do you have a favorite sandwich? Are you allowed to?
Should we all give a recommendation here?
You know what? It's weird because I'm a chef, right? So usually like fat, pork belly, that kind of thing. But we created a jackfruit torta. You guys should try it. It's totally vegan. and it's amazing.
I watched you make that online.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if you guys still made it because I'm kind of curious
so
about it.
we kind of treat jackfruit the same way you would, pork carnitas, like the Mexican style, and we build a torta sandwich out of it.
Well, how late are you guys open?
Yeah, until 10. We got time.
We got time to go up there and get a sandwich.
But that's been my favorite right now, and it's weird, and maybe it's leaning towards the healthier lifestyle, but that sandwich is killing it right now.
Anything else, Chrissy? You good?
Get the Daguda.
Get the Daguda.
I just want to say.
And I recommend the Reuben.
Reuben's
or I like there's like a breakfast sandwich.
Oh,
really
the breakfast
sandwich. The breakfast sandwich is amazing.
Dude, get it with medium
pork
eggs.
belly. Medium eggs.
Medium eggs and pork belly. It's one of the greatest things you can possibly have.
Yes, it is.
You're not going to need a meal for a couple meals, but it's good. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I've enjoyed chatting, and I guess we'll end it there.
Right on.
Thank you. All right. Many thanks again to Brandon Price for coming on this podcast. Hopefully you guys all enjoyed that. I had a heck of a time chatting with him, talking sandwiches. I would actually love to know all the listeners' favorite Even Stevens sandwiches.
That's actually a great
So
idea.
send us a tweet or a Facebook post or message or something.
Yeah.
I'd love to know what you guys are all eating out there at Even Stevens.
I would too. I think I said it in the recording, but mine is Daguda.
Oh, my. And I've been loving the Reuben lately.
Yeah.
Head on over to iamsaltlake.com/269. That's for episode 269. All the links to connect with Even Stevens and find out more about Brandon and all that right there on the website. Send him a message. Let him know you heard him on this episode. It's really cool when people come on the podcast and they find out people are listening to their interviews. Hey, this episode of the podcast is sponsored by Jed's Barbershop. With 3 locations now, you have no reason to not always look your best. Go get a haircut, a beard trim, or even a straight razor shave. Jed's Barbershop is open 7 days a week, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., Saturday, 9 to 7, and Sunday, 12 to 5. Their brand new 3rd location just barely opened up, 167 East, 900 South. It's right next to Randy's Records. They also have a location downtown, 212 South, 700 East. And in Sugar House, 2153 East, 2100 South. Hey, no appointments necessary. Just head in, get a haircut. Summer's right around the corner. You want to look your best. You want to get that beard trimmed up. You don't want to get too hot. So head on over to Jed's, get a haircut. They were recently voted best in state by City Weekly and KSL. Their website, jedsbarbershop.com, is where you can go and get more information. Hey, but speaking of Jed's, this last week, we sat down and talked with Jerry Cordova. She's the one who did the art.
She's the artist behind the wall.
Behind the wall.
The man.
So at their new location, 167 East, 900 South, they have an amazing art wall. Mm-hmm. You can't miss it. Just walk right into the barbershop. She did a big mural, including a portrait of yours truly, myself. It's bit narcissistic here, but it's cool. I feel very honored that that I had my face on a wall at Jed. So make sure to go in there and check that out. But anyways, we brought Jerry on the podcast. We figured she'd make a great guest on I Am Salt Lake. Find out her story. That's going to be in next week's episode.
And for Patreon supporters,
but for Patreon supporters. So how it works, if you're a Patreon supporter, if you head on over to iamsaltlake.com/swarm.
SWARM.
Yeah, SWARM. And head on over there and find out some different ways that you can support the podcast. You can get some content early, including that interview with Jerry. That'll be up and available there soon. And
get stickers, get early releases of interviews,
koozies, all that good stuff. iamsaltlake.com/swarm. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast in iTunes, Stitcher Radio. You'll get all those interviews early, though. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter, I Am Salt Lake, for up-to-date news on the podcast and other cool happenings around Salt Lake City. Hey, so anything else you want to mention, Chrissy, before we wrap this episode up?
I want a sandwich.
You want a sandwich. Well, I think even Stevens is closed now, so maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, maybe tomorrow.
But hey, again, many thanks to Brandon Price for coming on this episode.
Yes.
Many thanks to Jed's Barbershop for sponsoring, as well as Oleo Skin and Beard. And many thanks to all the Patreon supporters.
You guys kick ass.
Seriously, let's make that swarm, that swarm of bees.
Let's buzz all over Salt Lake.
Was that cheesy?
Bad form, Chrissy.
Hey, reach out. We're on all the social medias. Like I said, Twitter, stay up to date on all the cool happenings around Salt Lake City and Utah, Facebook, Instagram. All that stuff is on the website, iamsaltlake.com. You guys have a great week. Get out, support local. It's beautiful.
Good night, Grammy.